Welcome to Rambling of a Madman. In this episode, we are going to talk about an inevitable topic. It's about COVID-19 and the future. Today is 10th of August 2020, and the amount of infections that are officially reported is well over 20 million, and over 730,000 deaths are being officially reported. 2020 was a year that a lot of people were keeping their hopes up. It's a special number, and people were trying to take a new start. People were trying to introduce new things. Special events were there. The Olympic comes into the minds, and there were a couple of World Cups. I think there was a cricket World Cup ready to play, and overall, there were special things that humans were expecting from this year: a new boost, a new look. People were thinking that when going into the future, we will look back and say 2020 was the year that all began. But we are going to say that for all the wrong reasons. It started in the beginning of the year, and still it's here. It's COVID-19, and it has been dominating all the news outlets, all the news around the world consistently. It has become so much that even the news that are to be broke into the news stream in a normal year wouldn't even come as forest fires around the world, or flooding, or hurricanes. They get only a little bit of notice in the media these days because of the tragedy that is happening to the human race. As I told you, it is August 10th, 2020. A few days ago, a huge explosion in Lebanon took down on a whole area of the city, as with it hope of the people to rebuild the country, and they are facing hard times ahead. That was followed up by a huge fire in UAE market, then followed up by a plane crash in India. This is just the icing on top of the whole. If you take the whole news cycles of 2020, so much has happened, and it is even hard to wrap your head around all the news. But this is the present. This is the present situation. What would be the future? What would future hold for us? Of course, when when this episode is published, it's going to be some time. So basically, the numbers of infections and the numbers of death, unfortunately, it's going to be higher than what I have mentioned. But there's a silver lining. Now we can see the light end of the tunnel, because news of vaccines are being circulated around, and some vaccines have gone through a couple of steps of testing. Overall, around 165 vaccines are there, introduced by different countries, different institutions, as well as different companies. All are scrambling to find a solution for this virus. In the near future, the virus will do what the virus does best: keep multiplying, keep increasing the numbers of infected, and wreak havoc on human society. But in the recent future, as in end of 2020, maybe we will see a solution, a, a vaccine that will help to reduce or to eliminate this virus. That will be the light in the end of a very very dark tunnel which we call 2020. Well, in the this is we talked about the future of the virus, and the dark side would be the virus mutating and creating a menace. The positive side would be of the virus, humanity being able to get rid of by creating a good vaccine. Some news outlets, some people have been promoting that this is the new normal and we would have to live with the virus like uh, AIDS. But I am on the much more positive side where uh, I don't think it will be there forever. We will find a vaccine or we will find a solution that either diminishes the threat of death from this virus or at least control it for the future. In a much more positive sense, we would be able to completely eradicate this virus. I don't think that it would be like the new common thing in that we will not be able to stop it. I don't think that that would be the case, but it is to the future to decide. But I am still hanging on to the positive side of this. So the other topic that we have to look into in this is the economy. The economy got bashed very badly, not only in one country or not only in one region, but the whole world. The economy is suffering. Central banks around the world are printing money, creating money, eh, like crazy in record levels, just to keep up the economy, just to keep things stable. This is the new reality of the economy. While lot of jobs have been lost, while other jobs are not even able to stand up or carry out their work. Restaurants, tourism has taken a big hit. Countries that were depending on tourism has taken the biggest hit of all time. International trade has taken a hit. Overall, people have have lost their jobs, and the consumption rates or simply the the ability of human beings to buy things, to rent a house, to rent a car or whatever, or to take a service, deposit some in the bank, it's just gone. It's just gone, and the predictions are very grim. There are some question marks that are looming, because as if present, like the time I'm talking about right now, the stock markets seems okay, and these speculations and everything, these markets that use speculation and are doing okay, they are stable. This is mainly because of dumping of large amount of money into the markets, but the reality in the ground is not seen in stock markets or in other speculative markets. This, I don't know whether is a good sign, or the eerie silence that is there before something bad would happen. Well, that in the speculative markets, in the stock markets, in the forex markets, it is basically up to the future to decide, because many factors are controlling the markets. It's not only the ground level economic situation, but if you go to the realistic ground level economic situation, the things are getting worse day by day. If you start from the worst hit points of the economy, that would be tourism, the restaurant in the hospitality industry overall, then travel. When coming into airlines, they are suffering immensely. Then when coming into social events, going to movies or any shops that were hosting near a, a park, in the beaches and everything, they are also suffering immensely. While most of the companies have switched their work to go online, companies that haven't haven't made the facilities to go online had suffered for some time now. And everything bit by bit ends up being a problem for the economy itself. Lot of jobs have been lost, and the governments are creating money, getting loans, borrowing from the future just to keep stable and keep the people fed. This move by governments is inevitable, and there's no workaway around in this economic system. So looking at the future, it is quite easy to see that extra expenses for like buying a luxury item or going on a vacation, things like that will go down, while online businesses will uh, take a, a positive, um, will go into the positive side, because a lot of people are now getting used to buying things online as well as working from online. So businesses that are facilitating these will also will have a positive to look forward to. I think basic consumption will not suffer a great deal, because governments are also pumping money into people's hands, and little by little solutions are being released for people who are renting out, companies that have taken loans, and so on and so on. But overall, the whole economy, it is hard to think will it function or not. But if you take a month ago and the situation right now, it is safe to say things are leveling out to be a little bit positive rather than negative. If you look at the speculations a year ago and now, then it is totally different. But if you take the speculations a month ago and now, things are positive. Overall, it is very hard to say how long this situation will be there, but in the long term, things will slow down, economies will slow down, the amount of debt, personal as well as a country's debt, will go up. We would have to borrow more from the future, and thus future is going to suffer. And research into new things, building of new companies, these will also have problems because the investments would dry out. So there will be a problem of new creations, new innovations coming through, because businesses which has R&Ds will be looking to cut their expenditure, as well as investors would be looking for safe havens, looking for safe ways to invest their money, rather than going into a new product which is considered to be risky. So and we have to talk about some trade situations, because countries will most probably look to keep their money inside the country. So self promotion of countries by our country's products will be the slogan for the coming future. So international trade overall has a possibility of falling down. If you come into the specific of trade in the in the virus sector, when coming into masks and medical supplies needed to tackle the situation, there was a bottleneck issue between the demand and supply. But throughout the last few weeks, few months, this bottleneck has widened, and now it seems that we are coming into a stage where those things can be supplied for a reasonable amount, and for the amounts that are needed. But still there are problems. So in the future, it is safe to say that it will, the bottleneck issue, the supply and demand will equalize, and it would become a positive thing in that way. But again, the overall economy is the problem, because right now we don't know how much governments are willing to keep on spending and covering up for those who have lost their jobs, or for those who have uh, uh, lost in businesses, to cover up their loans, and so on and so on. Only time will tell, because it is pretty obvious that sectors such as tourism, cruise and airlines will take a tremendous hit for the upcoming few months. And the survival of those sectors, those areas, will totally depend the on the governments that are supporting those industries. And it is it just came to my mind that SpaceX has resumed their launches, and so on and so on. So, and sports have also started resuming their activities, is little by little. So in the future, most of the industries, I think it is safe to say, will come back to a level where at least there won't be a downfall of those sectors. Um, but the reality in the ground, whatever the markets say at the moment, the reality in the ground is harsh, especially for the people who were in sectors that were affected by this, and especially for the people who were working in a day-to-day basis, or for by day-to-day pay, because they are the ones who will get the first cut when coming into reducing costs in companies. So that is one of the things. And then we have to come into the political and the trade side, because because uh, trade tensions are there between United States and China, and there are different different trade wars going on between that two whole area of the Pacific, where Australia is also having some problems. So and India and China is at the moment is not very good at the moment. So overall trade there is also uh, is a little bit in tensions, and economic tensions which were made due to the COVID-19 is not helping the situation, because the economy is already stressed, and to put this political stress on the economy itself is is not a good sign for the future. Let's let's look at the uh, political sides for a moment, because the virus have impacted everything around the world. Even world politics have been affected by this. It's not a virus only taking down one human being at a time, it's a virus that takes down the whole society. When you talk about society, politics come into play all the time. Generally, it is the easiest observation is governments and leaders who have handled this virus pretty well have gotten the praise of the society, while others who have handled this very badly haven't. This is the obvious observation. Lot of sectors in politics is under stress, while people who were able to manage the virus situation is now handling or wrestling with very hard economic conditions and trying to keep the boat floating. The other leaders have completely trampled over the economy as well as the health situation in each country. Well, the first example, and one, I think the most important country to talk about, is United States. Not because of the bad track record that it's having politically, it is the most powerful economy, powerful country overall, and the world looks in terror for the numbers that are coming out from that country. It has the highest number of deaths at present, and the number shows that every still it's getting worse rather than getting better. And as the most powerful world economy keeps pumping money to keep afloat the economy, all the countries around the world are having in second thoughts on their economies and what will be the future with the virus. This is mainly because United States and the values of their country and society divided it into two groups, where one set of people wanted to close down the country and put human lives in front of the economy, while the others argue that the economy is the most important, and uh, more lives would be harmed if the economy falls down. And the justification of over 100,000 deaths were made as such. Well, I think there is an argument for another day, but that is the political view, and also the president taking the side of his own against the virus, assigning in a political side for the virus rather than and unifying the whole country as United States against the coronavirus. It has been a, a president or the president's party and the president against uh, the coronavirus, who's been supported by the other side. I guess that is how the thought process is going on, because it is seen as a political situation, and while the opposition uses this opportunity to enhance their point of view, it has um, made a great strain on United States economy wise and health wise. The stress that is being created on the society is now spilling over to other problems in the society. As you can see, the Black Lives Matter movement, which is one of the important movements in United States, it's turning into a violent nature. That is not because of the, maybe not because of the protest itself, but the strain, the stress of what's going on overall in the country with the coronavirus and the economy influences this kind of behavior as well. But of course, the head of politics, the president of United States, have a different view on that, and the way he looks at it is the ratings, the numbers. So if you go into a humanitarian and problem, just looking at the numbers will not do well. It is it the same situation is there in Brazil as well. The situation was almost there in United Kingdom, but after their prime minister got ill, I think he decided otherwise. When he got a first hand experience, I think he was able to make the change. But in Brazil, that situation is unfortunately not there. All, especially in these countries, United States and Brazil, the presidents think that they are the victims of this virus rather than thinking that their country, their citizens are the victims. So end of the day, decisions are made accordingly to that, and great suffering of humanity is being seen because of that. And I think this is very important when coming, especially for democratic countries, because they choose their leaders. It is up to the democratic countries to choose a leader who will stand by the society, the country, the people of the country, rather than their own uh, um, political agendas, or only for a part of a society that accepts the particular leader's political agenda. It is quite an unfortunate situation. I think it is safe to say elections in the future will be decided immensely on the progress that is made by politicians during this 2020 period. And these decisions will be made in two fronts. Number one, the way that the politicians handle the coronavirus. Number two will be the economy perspective of it, how they handle the economy itself. Because different countries thought processes are different, different results may come, because countries like Europe and United States, they prefer uh, to be free to travel, free to hang around, do what they want, meaning that lockdown situations, restriction of movement is not acceptable in that nature. It is hard to think of how they would look at the results that are there at the moment. The best example that I can give is there was the elections in Sri Lanka. Though the economy was hit pretty badly because it's a island nation that depends on exports as well as tourism, the efforts that were made to handle the coronavirus situation resulted in confidence in votes for the party that took over the government quite recently. And it is safe to say the political field in the future will be mainly depending on the results that were created in this year. That is, without a doubt, would a fact, and whether it would be positive or negative, it is a future to be decided. So the other part of it is the international politics that is going on. Some countries are blaming China for not taking proper measurements to control the virus. So with the tensions that is going on around the world, this would be one of the topics that will come out because of the strain, because of trying to do the blame game. So whether it would be a genuine pointing of fingers or just a blame game to because of the political agendas, whatever it is in the future, this topic will also rise up because of that. And of course, many countries will go into economic turmoil, so politics will be affected because of that around the world as well. But with the introduction of a cure, a vaccine for this virus, things will settle down and people will be able to rebuild. But still, the problems are there because of this virus. News of other disasters or political uh, turmoil that is going on in different countries. For example, a war in Yemen and the internal politics on that area, the whole Middle East area, uh, is going under, as well as other things that are happening around the world, which should have been news, is at the moment is under the rug. So whatever good, for the good or for the bad, things are happening in the international political world, and that is not having a spotlight on it. Results of those actions will be also seen in when these things settle down, when a vaccine is introduced. So there are so many points to talk about when you talk about the coronavirus and the future overall. But it is safe to say the most needed precaution that is needed to be taken is every country should have their uh, virus control system, because this virus is the most widespread virus that is recorded in the modern history time period, and a lot of data is being collected. And because of that, we can use that data to make necessary measures, to make necessary departments strengthen the healthcare system, strengthen, and to build laws that are needed to create facilities that are needed to handle such a situation, because something like this is possible. And the only advantage that was there on our side was the though it is a grim thought, the death rate was around 1%. Think of a virus that will be with a higher death rate. It is hard to imagine. So the human thinking should be changed as well. Student in schools, it should education must be given, because in think about it, there was a time when the cold war was going. Everybody was given a opportunity to build shelters and work accordingly to if a nuclear attack happens. If somebody said, oh, I need my freedom of travel and go out in a nuclear attack moment, it's not possible. So that thought process should be there. We have to work as one unit, as a society, not only to save others but to save ourselves, our loved ones, which which I think that is the priority. And more education about viruses should be given, because the way some people, there are conspiracy theories is on these viruses, and when you look into them, um, the main problem is people believe them because they are not educated properly about this. So as I talked about such topics in my very first episode, the education should be given so that people will understand what to do in such a situation. So overall, there are many things to be done in the future for to prepare for the inevitable next virus. Yes, it is inevitable. It is a grim thought, but it is true, because a few months back there was a person who was talking about this is in YouTube, and he told that it's going to be grim. At that time, the things that he told, how he explained that somebody you might know would die, or a lot of people will get infected, and at least uh, he was talking about the numbers at present, long time back, and it was hard to put it into perspective, but right now what he has told was true, and it was not fear mongering. Whatever the situation is, the future is going to be like this. The political future is going to be shaped on the actions that are taken during this time. The economic future at the moment is grim. The future of our health, the recent future, though it is grim, in the in, in 6 months' time there would be, hopefully, we hope that there would be a vaccine that is in mass circulation, and things will get better. So overall, we can hope for the best end of 2020, and there are few things to do in the future as well. We have to be prepared for the next one, because there's no excuse. We have to protect ourselves and the people we love. So that's it for this episode. I have rambled on a bit, so thank you very much for listening. I wish you all the very best and the very best of health. Stay healthy. Thank you very much for listening. Ayubowan.